Just remember, this is all very legal and also very cool. President Donald Trump will return to just plain old Donald Trump come January. And in case you forgot amid, well, the last 4 years, remember this: there are at least a half dozen ongoing cases involving him and placing him in various levels of legal jeopardy that are still pending, which is a half dozen more legal cases than I or most people are currently involved in. And because there's been so much legal turmoil around the president for his entire first term, I thought it might make sense to go over the pending litigation involving him and give you an update on where it all stands, at least at the moment. And away we go. Number one, the Manhattan District Attorney's Office is looking into financial inner workings of the Trump Organization. Now, this case, which is being overseen by Manhattan District Attorney Cyrus Vance Jr., grew out of questions regarding several hush money payments made in the run-up to the 2016 election by then Trump fixer Michael Cohen to two women who alleged they had engaged in extramarital affairs with Trump. Cohen, as you might recall, told Congress under oath in 2019 that there was no doubt in his mind that Trump knew about these hush payments. But the investigation is actually broader than just the hush money. As CNN's Kara Scannell and Erica Orden wrote in October, and I quote, prosecutors have suggested in court filings that the investigation could examine whether the president and his company engaged in bank fraud, insurance fraud, criminal tax fraud, and falsification of business records, end quote. Is that all? Trump has repeatedly sought to block the Manhattan District Attorney's subpoena of 8 years of his tax returns and financial records as part of this investigation. Number two, the New York State Attorney General is examining how Trump and his organization valued his assets. All right, so in the wake of Cohen's testimony on Capitol Hill alleging that Trump, along with his family members, had repeatedly, quote, inflated his total assets when it served his purposes, such as trying to be listed among the wealthiest people in Forbes, and deflated his assets to reduce his real estate taxes, New York Attorney General Letitia James, who is a Democrat, announced she would investigate the claims to see if they merited any sort of fraud. Now, just last month, Eric Trump, son of Donald, was questioned under oath after a long back and forth over whether he could be compelled to do so, about whether he or the Trump Organization sought to artificially inflate or deflate their assets. Number three, attorneys general of Maryland and D.C. are suing Trump, suggesting he violated the emoluments clause of the Constitution. Okay, so this suit was originally brought way back in 2017, feels like 100 years ago, alleging that Trump was violating the emoluments clause by profiting from foreign government spending at his Trump Hotel in downtown Washington. Now, the case appeared dead in the water until May, when the Fourth Circuit overturned the ruling of a 3-judge panel that said the plaintiffs lacked standing to actually even bring the case. Now, Trump has, maybe you've heard this before, appealed the decision to the Supreme Court. There's also, by the way, a second emoluments case that is still pending, this one brought by a group of restaurants and a hotel operator. So there's that. Number four, E. Jean Carroll's defamation lawsuit. Days before the 2020 election, a federal judge rejected an attempt by Trump, represented by the Department of Justice lawyers, to effectively dismiss a case brought by Carroll, alleging that Trump had raped her in the 1990s. Now, Trump has denied the allegation, saying, quote, she's not my type. The case is now proceeding through the federal court system. Number five, Summer Zervos' defamation lawsuit. Zervos, a former contestant on The Apprentice, sued Trump back in 2017, arguing that in his denial of her allegation that he had sexually assaulted her in 2007, he had defamed her and subjected her to harassment. Trump lost a bid to dismiss that case in late 2019, but the proceedings, including a possible subpoena for Trump to provide a deposition, have been put on hold until he leaves office. Number six, Mary Trump's lawsuit. So the niece of the president and the author of the scathing bestseller, Too Much and Never Enough, How My Family Created the World's Most Dangerous Man, what a title, sued Donald Trump in September, alleging that he, his sister, and his late brother had committed fraud to keep her from getting her fair share of the estate of Trump's father, Fred Sr. Aside from those half dozen suits is the looming question of whether Trump could be charged with obstruction of justice for his attempts to impede and inhibit the investigation into the 2016 election and Russia's role in it by, yes, special counsel Robert Mueller. In a back and forth during congressional testimony in July 2019, Mueller, who, by the way, is a former FBI director, suggested that he believed Trump could be charged once he left office.
You believe that you could charge the President of the United States with obstruction of justice after he left office?
Yes.
It's impossible to know whether any of these pending lawsuits will ever emerge as a genuine threat to Trump.